guys, this is part 2 of my journey to the juniors. So, let's start with a little recap.
Stories, I'm a fool for your love.
Okay, so my talent ID was in November 2007 during the start of the school holidays, and I actually got my letter of offer into Sekolah Sukan Mutiara Impian that was in Jawi, Penang State Sports School, end of December 2007. So I was in that school for about 6 months until I actually decided to finally come back to Convent Light Street. So, did I forget to tell you what happened like in my sports school? Okay, I'm sure I forgot. So, what actually happened in 2007 while I was in the sports school was I was told to actually go for the school selection for 100 and 200. So when I went for the selection, I came out second out of 8 runners, okay, that was running and competing with me for the selection. But my coach then, I'm not going to be mentioning his name, he did not allow me to represent the school team for MSSPP. So I was upset because he felt that it was right for him to give the seniors a chance to represent the school team. The seniors were Form 2, and he told me that probably I can represent the school team when I'm Form 2 if I produce the same results. So I was upset with him, like really big time disappointed, but I said it's okay because this is just the start to a really long journey that's ahead of me. So I went for training as usual on an ordinary day, on a normal day, right after school every day. And I noticed that there was a lot of politics that was happening around me. For an instant, there was a lot of favoritism that was happening because I was the only Indian girl in the whole entire sprint team. And obviously I wasn't the favorite lah. So I went and I couldn't take the pressure that was happening around me. I called my dad on my birthday, May 23rd, and I told my dad, I said, if there's one thing that you can do for me, the best gift you can ever give me is to get me a transfer back into Convent Light Street, where I can actually live a life of an ordinary student without being judged, without any favoritism, and talent will be appreciated, you know. So I didn't feel low about myself at that point. My dad got me a transfer in June 2007 and I moved back to Convent Light Street. So when I moved back to Convent Light Street, I went back like a tomboy with short hair, and in a convent school, you're definitely someone's favorite lah because you're going back like a tomboy. And everyone in convent actually knew that I was in a sports school and that I made a transfer back to convent. So everyone was actually, all of them were actually very happy to see me back in convent, and I was in convent until my entire Form 5 finish. So when I was back into convent, obviously convent is academic based school. They didn't focus much on sports and all that, so I had to start back again from scratch, from zero, and that was so tough because I didn't have a proper coach. Eventually, the school team appointed Mr. Alfonso Nathan to coach the school's track and field team. So with Coach Alfonso Nathan, I actually got myself qualified for MSSM. MSSM 2008 was held in Kelana Jaya Stadium. It was my first appearance in the 4x1 and 4x4. The stadium, the surrounding of the stadium was just so overwhelming that I told myself that I'm actually going to make a comeback in 2009. But this time in 2009, I told myself that I'm not going to come back as a relay runner. I'm going to make a comeback as an individual 100 and 200 meters runner, which I never told anyone else but myself. So when we got back to Penang, before I got off the bus, my first official coach, Coach Sundiran Gopal, he approached me and he told me to give him a year for him to produce a champion, for him to be able to produce a champion. So by trusting his words, I actually went for training. I started training on the 9th of June 2008. So for 1 whole year, I worked really hard. And when I went for my 2009 MSSM, my second MSSM, I went as a 100 meters and 200 meters individual runner. So qualifying for MSSM was one thing. The second thing was whether I was able to produce the results or not that he's given me. So during MSSM, my first event was 100 meters, which I failed to deliver the goal. Instead I gave him a bronze, and I went to coach and I was so disappointed. I told him, "Coach, I'm so sorry for disappointing you. Maybe I'm just not good enough." And then the next thing he told me was, "Don't worry, because the event that I prepared you for is not this." So that was when I started gaining more confidence a bit, and I wanted to prove myself in the 200 meters, which was on my birthday. So 200 meters, I took the gold, and I was so happy because it was my birthday. That was the best gift he could ever give me, and obviously he proved himself that he was able to produce a champion within a year. So in the same year, 2009 August, I actually qualified for Mini Olympics, and I represented the state for the 200 meters. And in the 200 meters, I came out 5th placing for the finals. It was under 23, so for me that was an achievement for the year, competing with all the seniors and all that. And that same year also, I was offered to represent the country for little athletics, which my coach didn't send me for because he felt that I wasn't prepared for it. End of 2009, I was actually offered Sekolah Sukan Bukit Jalil. Just as every other student, I wanted to be in the National Sports School, and I wanted to travel, I wanted to compete in more games. So I totally forgot that the only person who understood me and who made me a champion was Coach Sundiran, and that I would never get such relationship again. So I told coach that I wanted to leave to Sekolah Sukan Bukit Jalil, and he told me that once you leave, there is no returning. And I said okay to that. So I told my parents that I wanted to leave, but my parents turned me down and they said that no, because Bukit Jalil is in KL. You went to Mutiara Impian and you came back, and that was only 6 months, and how are you going to stand Bukit Jalil, So parents turned me down, and I had no choice but to go back to Coach Sun. And when I went back to coach couldn't accept me back because he expected me to understand loyalty, and he expected me to be a little bit more faithful and mature enough, but I think I wasn't then. So he couldn't accept me back for training. And 2010, I had no coach. Performance went down the drain like nobody's business. I went for MSSM in Johor, and at that point at MSSM, I didn't feel it until a few other coaches started calling Coach Sun up, and they started asking Coach Sun about my performance. They asked him where's the rising star? 2009 she can win the gold and the bronze, and where is she? This time as a reserve runner. So all their words actually hurt me big time. And in 2010, I was a relay and reserve runner. It was something that I really couldn't take it because I know where I stand, where I stood at that point, but not being able to perform and seeing others perform a worse timing than what I did in 2009 broke me big time. And I couldn't help but to cry in the stadium and keep asking coach for forgiveness. And that same year, 2010, was Sukma Melaka, and I wanted to go for Sukma so badly. I qualified for Sukma, but it was as a relay runner as well, not as an individual runner. And coach told me that I should just go for Sukma as how I am, because if I were to start training with him again, we wouldn't have the enough amount of time to train me, and I wouldn't be prepared for Sukma. So I went for Sukma just like that, and my first Sukma relay, I ran the 4x1 for the semi-final. And for the final, what happened was the coach who was in charge swapped the runners. I was pulled out, replaced by his girl, and they took the silver. So once again, I went through a lot of politics in life where I was so upset with whatever that has happened, and coach told me it's okay, we didn't have any target, we didn't have any plans, I just wanted you to have the experience of going for Sukma, just like my 2008 MSSM. And right after that, I learned my lesson and I told coach I wanted to make a comeback in 2011 because I couldn't accept that humiliation that I went through, that moment. And I worked really hard for 2011. And when I was in Perak Stadium, I ran the 100. I didn't win the 100, but when it came to the 200 meters, I won the gold again. I couldn't thank anyone else but coach, because at that very point of time, I was so nervous. I was so excited as well. It was mixed feelings. I was so afraid to compete. I looked around for him. He wasn't there. But he was confident enough that I would take the gold. The only text that he sent me was, "This is your time. This is your moment. Enjoy it, you worked hard for it." And I was up on the podium feeling super grateful, so thankful that he didn't give up on me. And right after that, 2011, I told myself that I can't do this, and I had to study for SPM. So I studied for my SPM and I quit sports.
Part 2 we are done. Part 3 is going to be about 2017 SEA Games.